Good evening, everybody. It's Consciousness Rising here, Rebecca, and I have a wonderful guest with me tonight, Amber. Hi, Amber.
Hello, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Excellent.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Amber runs Save the Children Truth Commission in the U.S. and you focus on rescuing children from satanic ritual abuse and trafficking. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, I'm one of the founders. It's Mel, Janelle, and I. She's the CEO, and I'm the she's the CEO. I am the C.O.O. And together we do amazing work and awareness. We rescue children from child trafficking through the courts. And also what we have here is called CPS, which is social services that child traffic children, and also
service, is it?
Child predator service.
Oh, predator.
Yes, that's what they call themselves.
Okay.
Yes, that's what they call themselves. And we also say socialist workers.
Yes.
However, and ritualistic satanic abuse, we file federal lawsuits on behalf of the families whose children have been trafficked through family members, family court, CPS court.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really a quite incredible process trying to stop this happening and rescue these children, because it runs through everything, doesn't it? It runs through all of our systems that are there supposedly to protect children.
Absolutely.
And this is why I think it's proving such a challenge in a way to bring it to an end. But
absolutely.
My first question to you is, how did you get into this? What happened in your life to bring you to even being aware of satanic ritual abuse and child trafficking? Because obviously lots of people know about it now, but I think it's a fairly new realization for everybody that this is happening worldwide and it's rife. So what happened? How did you get into it?
Well, it started in December. It was December 20th, exactly, 2019. And 2019, that year, seems to be the year also that the awareness of child trafficking through satanic ritual and CPS and family court just was at the infancy of rising. And I was a victim, if you will, of domestic violence. My son and daughter were too. My daughter was 8 at the time, and my son was 9. And we are also victims, if you will, of, I would say, possibly satanic ritual abuse. I would say that would be a fair statement because of my ex-husband's background, and definitely cultish abuse. My ex is originally from Morocco, where his father was the founder of the Socialist Communist Party in Morocco. He tried to overthrow the sitting king prior and murder him. And then my ex had this type of mentality that I didn't see. We were married for 14 years, and I didn't see it right away. It came out slowly. And because my ex's modality that he used initially of abuse was mental and emotional. So it mirrored very much what I was used to from growing up around my mom. And I didn't see the signs at first. And then I learned more about his family background as our marriage went on. And I felt trapped because he was egregiously financially abusive, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. When we had my son and daughter, at that point, I tried to divorce twice. to get out, and it was very hard. And then when I had my son and daughter, he started getting physically abusive with them, and then more with me. And I was able to get a criminal restraining order against him. However, I have great thought syntax. I have a background in military intel. It's just something I thrive in. I love, and I could connect the dots of what my husband at the time was attempting to do. However, it's hard for me to fathom that maybe one government agent or person can be tainted. I didn't realize the depth of how severe it was and how interconnected and woven these agencies are in trafficking children. And when I learned he sexually abused my daughter, he broke her foot, he busted my son's lip, they ended, and it was all documented by mandated reporters. I was begging for help and it fell on deaf ears. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. What a traumatic story, you know, and it's not a story,
Yeah.
it's your real life.
Yeah, thank you. And it was just it was inconceivable because as we were going through the divorce and separation, it caused more stress for my son and daughter as well. And I'm trying to protect them. I pulled them out of public school and properly put them in homeschooling to try to stave off less stress. And my ex contested that. And I saw that when I was in family court, the judge was corrupt.
Yeah.
And I did my background research on him and it was validated. And my last resort, I thought, was CPS. And you hear stories that sound outlandish. And at that time, very little was known. So you naively think, well, maybe it was for a reason. Some of these children were taken away. It won't happen to me. You never think it's going to happen to you. And when I literally begged them to come in because my ex was threatening to kill me and to harm my children, he was threatening to poison the food and things like that. I didn't know where else to go, so I asked them to intervene and to intercede on our behalf. I had all the documentation. It was documented through, well, not at the time. So I had all the current documentation that we needed help. And they said that I was a failure to protect, even though I kicked them out 6 months before. I had a criminal restraining order against them. And I learned quickly how corrupt our process is, our court system, and they're all
the system is so corrupt.
It is. It's satanic.
Yeah.
It's a satanic system.
Yes, it is.
So, and it's just it can be very debilitating for so many children and family. And when I learned what they were doing, I started representing myself and contesting, stating the constitutional codes, rights, federal codes that they are in statutes that they're violating, even their own WIC codes, they call them. And they didn't like it. So I did everything I could, and I still have rights to my children. However, they are with my mom who helped traffic them. And she actually was part of trafficking me when I was a teenager. So they're not in the best situation. And
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And, you know, even though my story, unfortunately, is not uncommon, it's, I would say, probably one of the most extreme, even though all of them are extreme. I mean, it's as preposterous that children can go missing and trafficked. And that's where I started learning that this is very real.
Yeah.
Our system gets state and federal funding. It's not just an issue in the U.S.
No.
And one of my good friends, before I became a part of Save Our Children, it was kind of bizarre. This woman on Facebook, because we have a lot of Facebook groups of awareness of child trafficking.
Mm.
So she happened to reach out to me and she said, there's a case here in Alaska that we know of where children are being trafficked. I am aware that you have some intel experience or can put a group together. Can you help traffic, or not traffic, pardon me, can you help find where these children are being trafficked? They're Native American children being held at gunpoint. And I was a little curious because I was like, that's not something you really advertise, you know how to do. And I put a small team together and we were learning how there's underground water tunnel systems that connect into the U.S. Not only the U.S. throughout the whole United States, but these water tunnels connect worldwide to trafficking children.
Mm.
And
This
that was my introduction.
This is the thing, isn't it? There's an underground network between country to country. This is why we don't see it overtly so much. I know that we do know that children are trafficked in the cargo ships as well, but
Absolutely.
I think a majority of it happens underground and we don't see it. Well, your story is tragic and so heartbreaking, but I'm very glad that through your experience you have chosen to do something proactive to change it, because the problem is so rife, and as you say, it runs through all of our children's services, our social services, our charities as well, children's charities, our judicial system, and our police.
Yes.
And they're all in this satanic
they are
cult.
Doctors, police, doctors, police, school systems, districts, board of supervisors, doctors. I mean, you name it. They're all involved. And it even gets to the point, I know a couple of cases, one in particular where cops will dress up as Amazon workers. Amazon's involved. One of my people who is part of our intel group, they were able to infiltrate certain government organizations, what you'd call like white hat work. And they found that there are actually off-grid, like ghost locations that Amazon uses to traffic children and hot weapons and humans and things like that.
You're just frozen there, Amber. Hopefully you'll come back in a sec. Oh dear. Come on, World Wide Web, work for us. Sorry guys, hopefully she'll come back. But wow, what a personal story Amber's got. You know, she's lived through this and through the pain of really just being on your own. You know, if the authorities are all involved and you've got a situation and they're trying to take your children, you can feel so alone with it. And she's gone. Hopefully she'll come back. But while she's not here, I will waffle for a bit about Jane, who I've just started talking to. Hang on, wait for her to come back. I just started talking to her. Jane is in the north of England, and she is a grandmother whose grandchildren have been taken. Very similar sort of situation where a breakdown of the relationship, and then the parent that's with the children is deemed, you know, unfit, and social services get their hands on the kids. Now, Jane has revealed that, well, she's not revealed, she's discovered through her own research that children are being sold and sold outside of our country. British children are being taken into care and sold by the social workers. Here she comes back, to Saudi Arabia. So I'm also going to be having an interview with Jane, hopefully soon. Right, Amber is coming back. She's returning. Hopefully, I can't see her, but hopefully she'll be back. Hi. Hi, I can't hear you now. I can't hear you. How bizarre. What to do? Yeah, I can't hear you, Amber. Try now.
There we go.
Oh, you're
Can
back.
you hear me?
Yes,
That
I
was
hear
interesting.
you. And yeah, I don't know what happened there, but you froze and then I lost you. But I've just been telling the viewers about another lady that I'm going to be interviewing in the north of England. Jane, her name is. She's a grandmother. She's campaigning in this country. Her grandchildren were taking very similar story where, you know, a relationship breaks down. We hear it over and over again. A relationship breaks down, and then services decide that the parent that the children are with, who is the responsible, loving parent, is not fit, take the children away. And Jane has discovered through her own research in trying to get her own grandchildren back that the children in this country are being sold to Saudi Arabia by the social workers, and that they get huge amounts of money per child. And this is why we are losing so many of our children in the same way. And that's why we know it is a worldwide problem, isn't it?
Oh, it is, absolutely. What's the statistics there on average of the UK children going missing?
I think it's about 140,000 a year.
Oh man. One is too much.
Yeah, I mean, but how can you lose? I don't know how many directly from social services, directly from childcare services, but how do you lose one child in a year, let alone, you know, hundreds of thousands of children? I know it's more in the States, isn't it? What's the statistic?
Oh, it's I'm looking if it was just CPS alone. It is 800,000 children that are missing in 1 year alone in U.S.
And that tells us how big the demand is as well, doesn't it?
Oh, it is, absolutely.
And that tells us how rife the problem is, you know.
And I just, oh, pardon,
no, carry on.
It's probably the same in the UK with your child protective services. They actually use a software I just learned called Predictive Analytics. And that teaches them which children to traffic, because what they do here in the US, I'm sure it's similar in the UK, if you're on any government help, you're automatically flagged as well. And there's a head of Department of Health Services in Virginia named Bill Crouch. And in the year of 2018, he wrote up a documentation stating that they do not get paid for the child unless if they rip them out of the home. They do not get paid state and federal funding until they rip them out of the home. And that there has to be in-home services, because a lot of times if families go for help, you know, like you said, it's unfortunately if the family dissolves and there's a divorce, because what it is, the toxic system, if there's a toxic parent, they will align with that toxic parent, because it's all about the funding. The more traumatizing it is for the child, they get put on medicines, they get taken to their own doctors. There's specific doctors only that are carved out and allotted for CPS. And this is not just in the US, this is worldwide, that are hooligans in their whole corruption agreement and contracts they have with each other. And they get paid for every time your child has a psychological issue, health, mental, anything from being ripped out of the home, they get paid, which is why there's no solutions within CPS, as there should be.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it's supposed to be formatted. It's supposed to help families, even with the most egregious drug problem a parent might have. If they're willing to get help and to become clean, in-home services and the children stay in the home.
Yeah. Because
So,
if we ultimately care for our children, what we should be doing is supporting those parents when they're going through a difficult time. Children want to be with their parent or parents, and that's where they're best off. And we've obviously sussed out now that our childcare services are not about the best interest of the child. It's about making money, and it's about you know the abuse of children and trafficking of children. Obviously, you investigate and you out the people, you name names, you're bringing it out into the open, you're getting it talked about. And we're doing the same in this country.
That's wonderful.
It's something that, you know, for about the last year since I really became aware of how big a problem it is, it's something that I just think we all need to come together on. And what we found is at the moment that parents are being penalised for not going with the narrative of the illness, you know, the COVID situation that we have in this country. So they're now using that as an excuse to say, well, you're a bit nutty because you don't want to test your child or vaccinate or whatever it is, that narrative. So we're now finding that this is being used as a reason to question a parent's capabilities. What me and my friend Natasha decided to do was set up a group in the community for the county that we live in, which is Devon in the UK. We've called it Devon Mackenzie Friends Service, and we're an advocacy service. But one of the reasons we set that up was so that anybody who is being sort of harassed or feels that social services are suddenly coming in and sort of setting them up to look like things are not going well, etc., that we can come in and as a community support that parent in the way that the child services should be supporting that parent and help them in whatever way they need, to see social services off and say, it's fine, thank you, the community's got this, we'll sort, you know.
That is beautiful.
Well, this I remember that phrase. I think it's an African proverb. It takes a village to raise a child. And one of the reasons that our children have become so vulnerable is because we are not looking at our village for support and help or whatever. We're going to an authority, a corrupt satanic authority. So
absolutely,
in wanting to do something immediately, we set up Mackenzie Friends. And one of the things that had happened prior to that was a young girl who had been sexually abused by her mother very, very young. When she was 2, 3, it was stopped. And so she lived with her father, and she was a lot older than that now. And the mother, and I think it was a stepfather, had the abuse was so bad that they had been prosecuted and they had served time in prison. But she was out, and the father had taken her daughter out of school because of the COVID narrative and the vaccinations and things that are coming up in our schools in England. And so immediately, you know, social services became involved. They'd obviously been involved with the family before because of the abuse situation. And they were listening to the mother, as you say, aligning with the negative parent. I'm going to call it that.
Of course.
And anyway, they turned up and they took her at 9:30 on a Friday night, and no warning or anything, and taken her away on the basis of the fact that she was home educated and they didn't have a laptop and that the cooker was broken. Now, what that made me feel was if we as a community had known that she needed a laptop, we would have provided one. And
Yes.
we could have got a cooker for, you know, secondhand or whatever so easily. And that's when I thought, hang on a minute, we need to set up community projects of, we need to protect our children. We have to protect our children. And we need to be able to let parents know that if they're struggling a little bit, there's somewhere you can come and you're not going to be judged. You're going to be helped and supported. So that's a fairly new thing that we've set up in the last few months. What else do you think really we can do apart from what we're already doing?
Well, first of all, I commemorate you. That is a wonderful solution that I wish here in America some more communities would join and understand how important that notion is to enact it. Because what we're doing more is focusing on, and I think in smaller networks we are, it's just not as
Overt as that,
focused.
maybe. Yeah.
Yes, as it should be, because we're focused more on, there's another group, a couple of big other groups I know here in the U.S. where they're focused on changing the legislative laws, and that is where these corrupt, felonious actors, these government officials get paid, is through the legislative laws, through state and federal. So they're working on having that awareness and filing the right documentation to take it down. However, I feel on a grassroots micro level, more of what you're doing must be done. It's imperative, because they go after homeschoolers because they can't indoctrinate them with their satanic material.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, I've told, some of the other people that become our family who is going through this, we are probably in the best times we can be for this horrific issue to be going on with child and human trafficking. I strongly feel, because we're dealing with what you'd call Satanism, the cabal, the elite, deep state. They go by many names. They're all true. And just one person can't fight them. There's a lot that we can do on a micro scale, like what you're mentioning, which is very important. We can, try to pass legislative actions to stop them. However, right now we're at the precipice and pinnacle of, as a world, having these child traffickers and elites like the Vatican, a lot of government officials, Senate, people in Parliament, being taken down. And I'm seeing it in factual terms, not just, what's kind of more of a covert operation that has been for so long, since at least 2016. I'm actually seeing the facts now on paper, because we need that. We need to have proof and documentation. So I think, still coming together and giving that support until CPS is taken down, which I strongly believe it is going to be this year, by the end of this year, worldwide. And I know that's a big statement, and it's not something I would say lightly. And that is due to a greater benevolent organization. I really believe in Trump and others that he is aligning with worldwide to help take this down. So I feel that we still, as a community, need to come together and do what you're doing, help the families, step in and tell CPS, or what is it called in the UK?
Well, Child Protection Services. Is that what you mean? Yeah, Child Protection Services, which just come in and try, supposed to protect children. So yeah, they're the section of social services that are supposed to go in and help families and protect children. But yeah, same thing, isn't it? Same.
It is.
Outfit.
Okay. Yes. Yes, and I feel like that's important community to have, and also fight with look at your local, what would you say, province?
County in
County,
England
okay,
it is. Yeah,
county,
yeah, yeah.
okay. Thank you. Your local county laws and see what type of laws are in place currently that are corrupt that supports the funding of these criminals to
Mm,
traffic our children,
mm.
and and demand for that to be removed as
I mean,
well.
we don't have different laws in different counties like you do in the States because we're much smaller.
Okay.
We have a county council though, which is kind of governing each or implementing and rolling out, statutes and acts or whatever that central government
Okay.
put out. So that would be the equivalent, I suppose. So
Mm.
to me, it sounds like we've got three layers here. Okay, we've
Mm.
got the white hat layers, the layer up
Mhm.
here where we know,
Yeah.
and I believe, like you, that there
Mhm.
are a good army of light that has
Mhm.
bought this out. Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
Trump can be a bit controversial in England just because,
Of course. Of
um,
course.
and there's, but my
But
thing
white
that
hats,
I
yes.
always say is, whatever you think about the guy, he and his outfit brought all this out into the open for us,
Yes, that's
right?
the main point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
grateful for that. Whatever, I like Trump, but
Yeah.
I know, a lot of people are a bit, oh, he hasn't done it, but then
Yeah.
you've got a second layer, which is the sort of, child protection service and social
Mm-hmm.
workers and tackling them,
Yes.
calling them out, making it
Mm-hmm.
known, catching them at it. And then
Mm-hmm.
you've got the third layer, which is your community and actually physically doing stuff to stop it happening by supporting your community. And, if you see somebody
Absolutely.
struggling or you feel they're struggling, rather than phoning
Yes.
up social services and dobbing them in, how about knock on their door and
Absolutely.
offer some support? So
Absolutely.
to me, all of those three layers need to be in action.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they are now,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Like you say,
Mm-hmm.
compared to 4 or 5 years ago when everything was still very much under the radar.
Absolutely. Because at one point, and I was going to mention too, a lot of research has to be done in your local area. I found that there are, with really incredible research, because as we know, there's nonprofits and organizations that claim to help. Like, for example, one that I reached out to at the very beginning was Veterans Against Child Trafficking, based in Arizona. And they were just, they were huge. And I thought, oh my goodness, they can help. I was calling them constantly, never got a call back. Well, I believe it was this year, if I'm not mistaken, it was this year, it was reported that they were shut down because they were child trafficking.
There you go.
And I was just astonished. And I probably shouldn't have been, but um, however, not all are. And I learned through doing research too that there's actually spiritual organizations, whether it may be a church or something else, that is a non-governmental affiliate that doesn't get paid from the government,
Mm.
that they will actually have mercenary groups to go in and extract your children. I found things like that. The only reason they couldn't help with mine specifically is because there's it's legal on court paper. But if they just kind of disappeared and it wasn't through court, that would have been a different story.
They'll go in and find them and get them,
Mm.
literally.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Are they,
Yes.
are
And
these,
there's definitely places like that. Mm-hmm.
so are they like ex-military guys?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. But that's
Yeah.
lovely. That is lovely. That's like that direct action in the community, isn't it? It's like, right,
Absolutely.
we're gonna find you and we're gonna bring you home. And I think that's, there's a lot of
Yeah.
unsung heroes out there, isn't there?
Oh, so many, so many. And it is such an honor and privilege when we come across them. And I feel, God willing, that soon we'll be learning about a lot more publicly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think
And,
we still have a problem, definitely in this country, of people believing
mm-hmm.
still.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Absolutely.
and a lot of resistance to the idea that, you know, our governing bodies are satanic. Still a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Still people say, you know, what you want about you're all nuts. So I still get frustrated with that, because there's so much, it's so obvious now. And I think it's one of those things
It
with the
is.
satanic side of things, that once you see it, you can't unsee it, and you start seeing it everywhere, and you start seeing it running through every organization.
It really is. It truly is. And that's the thing, like just the other day, one of my friends sent me, I can forward it to you. It was, I actually believe it wasn't in the US, it was in Europe. It was government convention. And you can clearly see, because when you talk about satanic, people are so spiritually removed, and they're very woven into the indoctrination of religion. So when you mention that there are other entities like Nephilim, there's other satanic entities too that can show themselves that are in our government worldwide, and practice Satanism. He showed me a photo where you could physically see that they're not human. They are like transformed into like this satanic type of entity. And at first, because I have I guess you'd say a follower in Christ. I would say I'm Christian per se, like in the indoctrinated type of way. It's just that, I believe that there's great benevolence, a lot of love in the world. I believe in just in goodness, and I guess you say in Christ, but not Christian in the sense of how the church might view it. And with that being said, even for myself, it was a little hard to understand that there is so much Satanism and ritual practice. Like in California, there's the Bohemian Grove that they go, I believe, once a year, and do their weird stuff. So the more I looked into it, because I thought about it, I was like, well, if there's evil, then there's good. If there's good, then there's evil. There's always a counterbalance. And I thought, whether you believe in God and Jesus and something else that's benevolent and good, they give you sustenance. So why go to this other extreme and ask Satan and the malevolent type of beings for help? And what's the point? And when I learned more about it, about what you call adrenochrome, child sacrifice, God, like, Hollywood is filled with them.
Yeah.
Terrifying children, spiritual cooking, all this. It was for a greater purpose they had, which is in the moment as we speak being seized by white hats and the greater good. And they were literally planning to take over like the whole planet. And they had really terrible plans.
They're kind of still trying, aren't they? But it's not working very well.
It's not.
Too many people awake. Too many people
yes, they are.
awake.
Yes, absolutely. And they were using our children as commodity because they are just so bloated in arrogance and in wealth. They have all that. They got bored. So what's the next commodity? It's our children.
Yeah. And I think the trafficking industry is bigger than oil now, isn't it? And everything, the biggest, most lucrative.
Absolutely. And when you mentioned oil, there was an article I was just reading, because if you look back at our human history, we are just a lot more intelligent than we give ourselves credit for. Like when you look back, we've created such great technology and buildings and things like this, and then now look where we're at. We're almost kind of falling behind. So
but don't you think that's by design? I feel as if that's why we are their target, because we have this beautiful consciousness, this beautiful creativity, this and they don't have that. These demonic entities do not have the soul communication that we have either.
Oh, so, I absolutely agree.
That's what they want. That's what we have. We have this beautiful soul. And so I think also we've been dumbed down and we've been driven away from realizing our potential of our consciousness and our creativity. 100%. So we're also reclaiming that, I feel, during the process that we're going through as a species and as a planet. And I think because we're in the end times, and I don't mean by that the world's going to end, I mean the end of this particular cycle, it's all coming out. It's all coming out.
Yes, absolutely. Pardon, sorry.
That's all right. Just moving. Taking us for a walk, Amber.
Yes. Yeah, so absolutely. And you touched upon exactly what I was talking about, that we have such great light and potential, and I feel that it's very coveted by these evil entities. It's much sought after, and they can't have it no matter how hard they tried. And when it comes to what you mentioned about the oil, it made so much sense after I read the article, because when you look back at our advancement before and then where we are today, it was by design that we were kind of brought back to a lower level by their design, and it's not going to sustain. And when I was reading, the reason they keep us like slaves, ball and chain to the oil industry and coal, is because of the underground tunnels and trafficking children. It's their excuse to constantly be going underground.
Yeah, and they've got to have a reason, haven't they? An overt reason of why they're constantly kind of building tunnels. Well, we know why, but so digging around and whatnot. And I also had, because I don't know, I've come to this through, I'm a healer. I've been healing for like 20 odd years, and I do get downloads, and I had one recently that was all about the fact of why they keep pushing our attention to outside and the solar system and planets and going to Mars and going to moon or whatever, and whatever you believe about that, is so that we don't look down under the ground. They keep getting us to look up and out and away, because it's all going on down there. It's also it's like, wow, it's so obvious now.
Absolutely.
In retrospect.
And and I completely relate to when you said you're a healer. I am as well, and I could see that in you. And I remember as a child hearing about space and everything. It's so fascinating and marvelous. But I thought, well, we have a lot of water mass here on Earth, and what's up with that? Like, why aren't we curious? And that's exactly why, because I believe that there's other life forms that they actually have discovered that appears to be foreign to here, that is good and not good. And then there's also tunnels that are under there that regarding child trafficking and human trafficking. So yeah, they want us to look up, and
up and away.
they do,
so that they can get away with it all.
Absolutely. Yes, and if you look at the symbol, the emblem of NASA, when they use the thunderbolt as a T, it actually spells, and if you reformat it, all the words are there, Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all there, isn't it? It's all there
Oh,
when
they
you
use
know what to
symbols.
look for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Symbols, yeah,
So we've just been lied
definitely.
to. We've been lied to and lied to and lied to. And it's,
We have.
the awakening is not any one thing. It's like a whole plethora, isn't it, of really
Oh,
revelationary, shocking truths.
absolutely.
And I think humanity
Absolutely.
is kind of going through a bit of shock and
Mm-hmm.
reeling a bit. But, it's also inspired many, many thousands of people across the world to stand up and say no
Yes.
more. We are, because I feel as if you've got your thoroughbred humans, if you like, but then
Yes.
we've got all
Yes.
these other entities that look like they're humans, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Yes.
politician in this country who I cannot bear. He makes my
Mm-hmm.
skin crawl when I look at him. And
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed in his interviews on television, he never blinks. How can you
Yes.
do an interview and not blink?
Mm-hmm.
And I look at him and I think,
Absolutely.
you ain't human.
No. And
You are,
see,
you're not.
yes, and that's another thing just on a side subject because, well, it is a side subject and it isn't. Oh, how beautiful the light.
That's lovely. I was just going to say that light is beautiful.
Oh, it is. It's so neat. There are subhumans. There are people that are just um sorry, I meant my sisters.
It's all right. I quite like
Yeah,
it.
yeah, they have, yeah. So that so what was it? There are subhumans and there are people that are malevolent that some people call them extraterrestrials, satanic ones that look human like us, and then there's also ones that are benevolent and can look human that aren't from here. And I really believe that it's going to be a lot to unload and unpack for people, um, because
But
the ones that are bad, they I don't know if it's maybe a separate thing, but here in the U.S. There was malevolent life forms that came to President Eisenhower,
mhm.
and he was aware of them. And the ones that were benevolent life forms came and warned him and said, "Look, we can help you with this. This is their plan to literally harm humans and to enslave them." And he basically said, "Well, do you have technology that I can use?" And this is all documented. And the benevolent ones, pardon me, said, "Well, humans aren't ready for this type of technology. You will hurt each other. So no technology. And if you want to get rid of these malevolent beings that aren't from here, then we can help you with that." And he said, "No, we're good." So, and because he made a contract with them to also use their technology for bad.
Yes.
And our president Truman, and all this is documented. I know it might sound different to some of the viewers. Truman was aware of both, and he actually worked with the benevolent life forms that weren't from here. And he formed what is called the MJ12 files, the MJ12 group, which helped counter and is still helping right now as we speak, and all this world catastrophe and work with the White Hat.
I mean, don't you think that it depends on who the president is and where he's at in his, his soul as to whether they work with the benevolent or the malevolent? And I have a lot of American family, and I remember being I don't know how long ago it was, but I was young, and my stepmother had gone back to the States to see her family, and she'd come back, and she bought these baking things for muffins, for cupcakes, and it was rubbery. We've all got them now, the rubbery ones that you can bake cakes in. I mean, before that, it was always a metal tray. and she was showing me, and as I touched it, the rubbery, the baking, you know, the plastic baking thing, I just got, this is dark technology. And I was quite, you know, I was like, oh, and I got a picture that I got as I touched it. And I knew straight away that I thought, oh my God, America's traded with some dark aliens for technology. And although it was just a baking thing, it was part of this, whatever it was that they'd traded. And that was, I don't know, God knows, 20 years ago or 25 years ago, or something like that. It's a long time ago. So I've always sort of felt aware of that, and the demonic side of things. I've come across, let's just say, dark entities in people's auric fields during healings. So I've known damn well for a long time that they are very much alive and well and able to, you know, latch on, attach, drain our energies in that way as well. So I feel as if with the child trafficking and everything coming out, this is the three-dimensional manifestation of that demonic energy, demonic life. And yes, we're aware now. I think we've pieced it all together, haven't we? And we know
we have
this is part of humanity taking back our planet and booting the Satans out.
Yes, because we are a free will planet. And we've had benevolent, you know, aliens or extraterrestrials, light beings coming here and going back and forth for years, hundreds, thousands of years. And we've at one point were aware, the Earth souls here, and things were okay. And it's just when the malevolent ones, the Satanists, the bad extraterrestrials came and imposed their will against our free will planet. And they introduced what you call the cabal. They introduced all this other stuff, you know, with child trafficking and adrenochrome and satanic stuff and practice. And it's just horrific. So now is the time where we're standing up and we have the awareness, and we can't anymore look away. I can't tell you, when I speak out on different forums against child trafficking, human trafficking, adrenochrome, satanic rituals, and people will say, oh, that's not true. That's crazy. You're crazy or whatever. And oh, I just go off. I said, know what? No more. I said, you are the reason that our children and other humans are being harmed, murdered, ritualistically abused, because you choose to stay blind. And I said, no more.
I mean, you're right, because actually that cognitive dissonance, whatever you want to call it, is keeping this alive, isn't it? And that, you know, that's why it's time to speak the truth. Doesn't matter if people laugh or say that's not true or whatever the reaction, it has to be said now overtly and loudly. And yeah, that's a really good response to somebody who doesn't believe you, is, well, actually you are part of the problem with your attitude, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. And I mean, I was a little shy initially before I even knew how profound the child trafficking was and what happened to my son and daughter, because I didn't know. I so consciously, I would say I was probably about 60% conscious as a child, that I grew up in a very MK Ultra kind of satanic grooming type of household. And it wasn't so much on the surface, it's very subconscious. And I just had this innate drawing to the benevolence, to God, to good. And I'd see my mom, and what she would do and what she was teaching, that it's okay to have sex at a young age, to drink and to do drugs and to do all these bizarre things that didn't resonate with me. And and like she would watch, like she'd have me watch like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Oh gosh, what else is it? Oh, The Who by Tommy Boy. They would just watch it in front of me, and all these weird things. It's this form of grooming as well, and it made me very uncomfortable. And I started noticing too, especially after I had my own son and daughter, or even before, because I have sisters that are 15 years apart. And I would see symbolic meanings, especially in Disney, before it was even obvious how satanic they are. And I thought, oh gosh, this is so disgusting and repulsive. And then when I had my own children, I would try to limit certain things they could watch. And if it was a new series or episode, I'd sit down, especially if it's a new cartoon or a children's show. I'd say, Mommy has to watch it with you, at least 3 episodes or 4.
To check it.
We know, that it's okay. And I would get them involved and ask them what they saw and point things out and get them talking about it, if it was something that wasn't okay. Because that's another way they get to our children.
Oh, massively through entertainment, through music as well, and cartoons, children's programs. We also have an issue in this country with the education curriculum as well. We've got a new sex ed curriculum which they've rolled out this month, September. Where they teach, masturbation from the age of 4, and that it's okay to change your gender at the age of 4 upwards. So I think we know that, they're coming at the kids from every angle. In fact, it's so overt now. I don't know how anyone can deny that it's happening.
Oh, I know. Absolutely. And that's the thing too. It's like, we have to be at the forefront of this war, because it is a spiritual war.
Yes, it is a war.
And show that it's okay. Like, because I used to teach my son and daughter, even like you'll see drag queens teaching children, stories and things like this. And I would tell my son and daughter, look, they choose to be who they want. Respect it. And if they infringe on your boundaries, then you state your ground. But now it's like, I realize how that's even tied into satanic ritual things, and trying to get our children to change their gender and teach it's okay to like the same sex. And I still stand with, no matter what you believe or feel, as a human being, as a person, you are fully entitled to that respect, to that love and rights and consideration. However, it's like, no matter where you come from, your background and belief, you can't infringe or violate on someone else's boundary or get them to groom or condition them to think in a different way that doesn't suit them, especially our children, So
it's a real concern at the moment to be aware of what your children are being shown, taught, and to talked about too, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
But I think we're all massively waking up to that now. I think that is very much coming out, and once you know this stuff, well, I find it hard. I can't rest. It's one of those. It's like, I cannot rest. I have to do something every day to change, to change what's going on, to be part of the answer and not part of the problem. So I do feel that it's changing, as you say. There's things in the background as well that that you've mentioned. And it's not the background, I mean that higher level of white hats, etc. So I do have a lot of, I do feel positive. Oh yeah, you got your hat. I should have my hats t-shirt on. I've got a different one. I should have had that on tonight. Stephen will be cross with me for not wearing it.
Not at all.
But yeah,
there's
wonderful people, you know, like Steve Nat Hatz, that really just are spending their entire life getting this truth out there, and that, you know, it's all helping spreading the word, getting people aware, getting people awake to it.
Absolutely.
We're going to have to finish up fairly soon, just because we've been chatting for nearly almost an hour. But obviously, I mean, the message really then is that what we can do is do this community kind of type work, and also take these people to task in our councils, in our children's services, individual social workers. And I'm kind of just starting to get into that side of it now. And I think we all feel that we can do it now. We can be brave, and because I know that other people have tried before and ended up losing their lives, etc. They get taken out.
That is true. And that's,
but don't you feel now that the time is ripe now? I feel as if we would be protected in a way we haven't been before, and there's enough
100%.
of us. We have safety in numbers, don't we?
Yes, we do. And to bring it home, there was something I wanted to mention, and I appreciate you touching base on. It's like there is a tier, what you said, like there's the white hat, the benevolence, there is you know, the community. What was the second layer you mentioned? I forgot.
That's sort of the authorities that we're kind of living under. That's got to be taken down, really, that layer.
Absolutely.
But that's there, isn't it?
Absolutely. And an integral part too, I've noticed that they're being sifted out. They're being segregated, that community too, from the ones who are and have always been good, you know, because there are some in there. And ones that might not have been, or were too scared and they're choosing the correct side now. And then there's a vast majority that aren't. And then you were mentioning the grassroots of forming a community, going in and into their homes when CPS is there and saying, hey, we got this. You're not needed. Go away. And always use your camera to record them. And one of the biggest things too I forgot to mention is file complaints. They hate that. And if you ever need help, file complaints on the officers, on any judicial officers, any police, any social workers. And
so would you say that's the first thing to do if you know that there's a dodgy social worker? File a complaint, get the evidence, file a complaint.
Absolutely.
And then just keep hounding until you get a response to your complaint, until your complaint is looked into.
Yes, and I would file it just as a protocol within their own system. However, like for us, we have the Department of Health and Services, which is the ultimate interior head that oversees CPS. So whatever equivalent you have, you should file it there too in the UK. And also a huge integral part, you probably heard digital soldiers. Well, that's what I am. That's what you are. That's what Stephen is. Pat. So many wonderful Telegram channels, and that's why we have a Telegram channel, saveourchildren.org, on there. And being sisters now with hats, it is just a fantastic way of sharing information, sharing truth and facts, and getting it out there.
And raising the profile of the whole issue and what we can do to resolve it. So well, look, it's been lovely to meet you, Amber, and talk to you.
Rebecca.
And
absolutely,
I always say, well, you know, we'll keep in touch anyway, because I feel like you're much further down the road with this than I am. So I
would love to.
You know, I may ask you for, you know, if I come a cropper or I'm not sure what to do in a situation, I may come to you and ask. But you know, just, you know, it's just good to speak to somebody that's, you know, that's been on this for a while and is making a huge difference.
You guys are too.
Well, we're trying. I mean, my hope is that the community project that we've set up in our county spreads and that there becomes this same community project in every single county in England. That's my kind of dream, if you like. But at the moment we are very, very busy, so that just shows there's a need. People want it. People want help in their community rather than going to the authorities. So people are catching on. They're waking up. They're aware. So we've all just got to keep on doing what we're doing, and you know, and save the children. That's the bottom line, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you touched on, I know we have to go on the long-term goal, which is when the children do come home, they're just immersed with love and just care from their family members and their community. And it'd be nice to keep in touch because we have that long-term goal of forming this wonderful community of families to bring home these children, even children that unfortunately don't have a home, and they won't have a home, some of them, to come back to, and finding solutions and loving homes for these children, like on a I hate the word compound, but like in a large villa type of situation. Yes, a village.
A village.
Absolutely.
Takes a village to raise a child, because these children that
really
haven't got families to go to, they come back to the village, and we look, you know, we will look after the community. Looks like, you know, that's what it's got to be, and that's what it will become. And I can see that, you know, I can see that taking shape and becoming real in the timeline, you know, which is quite
100%.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
These children are going to need healing. They're going to need love, and you know, we've got to be ready to give that and to be there for them. So that's making me feel quite emotional, actually, just the thought of all the children coming back. That's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
It is. And I'm so excited. I have I'll share with you, I have on my windowsill at home a couple of little figurines that belong to my son and daughter, a little cat and a couple of dinosaurs, and then some I collect because I love little cute figurines, my son and daughter, and Zayd and Farida are their names, and they're just so beautiful. And we're rock hounds. We love rocks and crystals, so I collect them and I put them and arrange them on my windowsill, and it just really reminds me of them a lot. And it's kind of a special connection until they come home. And any parent that's going through that, you know, just do what feels right for you. You know, have your children, stuffed animals you may have, or things that you like to share together, you know, and have a little place for it in your home, and know that they are coming home, and know that, believe in that.
Yeah, because what thoughts become things, don't they? We manifest.
We
will,
do.
You know, and also I think having that a little space for those special things, it's a connection. It's a connection. You're always connected in your heart and in your soul. We are always connected. So it's a way of staying, isn't it? Connected. But I mean, I pray for your children, and I pray for you, and I pray for every child that's missing, and every parent who is missing a child. And you know, we need to go forward knowing that the time is now. We're bringing this to an end. And I hope, Amber, what I'd like to do is say, let's have another chat in a few months.
I would adore that.
Time or something, and see where we're both at and what successes we've had, and kind of, you know, check on the progress, because this is happening and we're making it happen.
We are. And as I said, to you, to myself, to our viewers, everyone who is involved and wants to be involved, we couldn't do it if it wasn't for you. We couldn't do it if you weren't able to step out of that fear or ignorance of not knowing, you know. So thank you.
Well, and
absolutely.
Thank you, Amber. It's been really lovely to talk to you.
Absolutely, Rebecca.
And I will definitely be chatting with you on Telegram before long, I expect.
I would like that.
Yeah, and thank you so much for coming on the channel.
Absolutely. And thank you for your patience with next time I'll be stationed in one place.
Oh, don't worry.
I was having some little
fine.
tech issues, and my sister's wonderful at that.
No, don't worry. We had a good chat, and I think
wonderful.
You know, I don't mind a bit of walking around, and the light was nice outside as well.
It was. It's beautiful.
Yeah, you had a
Right
beautiful
before winter.
spectrum coming over your head, didn't you?
It
Yeah,
is.
nice.
Oh,
All
I
right, well,
adore
look,
that.
sending you lots of love from the UK.
Absolutely. Lots of love from the US too.
And
Definitely.
I will catch up with you again soon, Amber.
Will do, Rebecca. Take care and have a good evening.
Lots of love.
Lots of love.
Bye.
Absolutely. Take care for now.
Bye.
Bye.